Today is Sunday, June 13th. Beautiful day here in northeast Alabama. Yesterday it got up to about near 100 degrees, and it's 7 a.m. this morning and the temperature is already up to about 80 degrees. Had a little trouble getting the camera to work this morning. The humidity is so high when I got the camera out of my vehicle. The lens wanted to fog over. I had to wait till the lens warmed up to the outside temperature so I could start making the video. Wanted to show you this morning the south side of the square here in Scottsboro, Alabama, and that's what you're looking at in this first scene. That's the corner building on the south side of the square. That'll be on the to the southeast side corner of the square. It's the Courthouse Square, and that building now is the Jackson Realty company. There's offices upstairs, downstairs, and some back toward the back. But right there in the front there's a sign on the building that says Jackson Realty. And this building doesn't have a date on it, but it's been standing there as long as I can remember. And I was born in 1945, so I know it's at least about 60 years old, and I don't know how far back before that. Next door to the corner building on the south side of the square is at present time a parking lot. It's still a vacant lot. I can remember back in my youth that there was an old house that stood on the back side of this lot. And as I remember, there was a tractor. It was a tractor and implement sales company that occupied this part of the square. Right now I can't remember the name of that tractor company, but I can remember seeing tractors parked around this part of the square, and that old house still being, it was a not a brick house, it was a lumber built structure on the back side of this lot. And right now, as I stand and look at that lot on the backside, I can see a company or a business called Greenback Pawn. It's a pawn shop. Also back there is a lawyer's office, Ellen R. Malcolm, LLC. Several lawyers located here on the county courthouse square, since the county court and all the legal offices are here on the square. Over to the right there, I see a lawyer's office called the Lackey Law Firm. It's Gary W. Lackey and Justin A. Lackey in that building. And you may hear the birds chirping and crowing this morning. I hear a water crow off in the distance. You may can hear that. And some other birds around the square here chirping. I've moved up the block here just a little bit. This is about the middle of the south side of the square, and a group of buildings you see there. The first building on the left is the Lackey Law Firm. The building in the middle there, and I'll zoom in on it, was built as a Masonic lodge at one time. It's no longer used for that. At present, that building in the middle and on the right side is Safety First. It's a SFS is a company here in Scottsboro that sells safety supplies, fire extinguishers, and such as that. The middle building, I can remember at one time, was a Scottsboro locker plant. Back in the days before people were able to have freezers in their homes, this building was occupied by a large freezer area in the back, and people that wanted to have their own meats and frozen vegetables would come down and rent a locker space. You'd have a key to your locker, and you could come down and put your produce, your meat, your vegetables in the frozen locker, and when you needed them, you could come back and get them and take them home and prepare them for eating. Let me just see if I can zoom in on the symbol. And there you should be able to see the Masonic symbol there on the front of that building. These buildings also do not have a date on them as far as when they were constructed, but like the first building I showed you there, these buildings were here as long as I can remember. So again, these go back at least 60 years old, and I don't know how much prior to that. And I've moved down past the middle of the square, and what you're seeing here is a vacant lot, and it's been made into a parking lot. And you might say, what's the interest in just a vacant lot on the square? But this area has a little bit of history to it. If you can see off in the distance there's a couple of tall trees and a short tree and a little small building, a little low building over there past the white vehicles. That is the location of the old Jackson County Jail. It was located in that area. And if you remember back in some of my previous videos or some of the history of Scottsboro, the town is famous for the Scottsboro boys case, where 9 black teenagers were charged with the rape of 2 white women, were brought to the Jackson County Jail, which was in that location, and had their first trial and were convicted in the courthouse, which is here behind me. And at the time when the boys were brought from the Jackson County Jail to the courthouse, they would have come up through this open area as you see here between these 2 buildings. And I'll turn around and you can see the Jackson County Courthouse right behind me. And I'll zoom in. There's a sign here, a marker that commemorates that occurrence here in the county. See if I can get in on the marker. And if you want to go back in some of my previous videos, I have a video that talks about the Scottsboro boys case. And that marker there is put up just a few years ago, and it says, I won't read the whole thing because it's covered in the other video, but it says Jackson County Courthouse and the Scottsboro boys. So that's a plaque talking about that case. And let me go up and show you the clock. There's a Seth Thomas clock, or used to be, in the courthouse dome. Let's see if I can go up and get a video of that. And the clock chimes out on every hour. Originally it was a mechanical clock and had bells in the tower there that would chime out on the hour. And it was kept running for many years. Our probate judge, Judge Gentry, kept the courthouse clock running for many years. But in a recent renovation of the courthouse, it was replaced by a more modern electrical drive, and I think now has an electronic chime instead of the old original bell. And here are the final buildings on the right side, on the south side of the courthouse square. And the first one you see on the left there is now the law offices of Tommy Armstrong. Next door to that is Carolyn's Custom Interiors. Next door in the middle there is the Variety Bake Shop, and that's a hangout, early morning hangout for a lot of the local people. They come into the bake shop and get a donut or maybe a sausage roll and a drink, and sit around the tables there and talk about the local politics and the local people and local happenings. And on the right there, that's the only building on the south side of the square that has an inscription on the top, and I'll zoom in on it. But that is the old City Hall, the Scottsboro City Hall. It was erected when Mayor Snodgrass was the mayor. and it says it was erected in 1930, I believe it is, either 1930 or 1938. Part of the date has broken off of the inscription. And that's now the home of the Jackson County Legislative Delegation. Our state senators, state representatives use that as their home office. At the time that was the City Hall. The downstairs in this front end was the City Hall. The upstairs there was the Scottsboro Library, and on the right side back toward the rear was the fire department. And those are now located in other places. I'm going to kind of pan around to the right and show you the modern. Now that's off the square. That's on the corner of Broad Street and I believe this is Appletree Street. Well, I may be wrong. I'm not sure about this street. But the first building off on the corner over there is the new City Hall. And then the red roof building down to the right there is the new Fire Hall. So not too far from the original town City Hall and City Fire Department. Let me zoom in on the plaque on the building. I guess you can read that. It says City Hall, Snodgrass Mayor in 1930. And here's a better shot of the new Scottsboro City Hall. And as I said, this is located on the corner of Broad Street, and I believe this is Peachtree Street running across in front of me here. And that was built just a few years ago. There's a little bit of story behind it. When they first started the construction of the building, it was framed up out of metal framing, and it being a two-story building, the construction workers went up on the second floor and started pouring the concrete, and there was a little bit of design error or construction error in the construction of the building, and the top floor completely fell to the bottom floor and completely collapsed the building. I think the building was redesigned and reconstructed in its present form, and that houses all of the city offices, the mayor and the other offices, city inspector and such as that. City records are located in that building. And that concludes my early Sunday morning tour of the south side of the square in Scottsboro, Alabama. And the reason I did that, I've had several people send me emails and messages. Some of the people that maybe grew up in Scottsboro, lived around Scottsboro, and then since then moved elsewhere, say that they enjoy seeing films and videos made around the modern Scottsboro. So I was out early this morning, thought I would come up here and go on the south side, and to those viewers that wanted to see more about modern Scottsboro, you'll see that the square hasn't changed all that much, and maybe later on I'll go to the west side, the north side, and the south side and do the same thing as I've done here on the or east side, and do the same thing I've done here on the south side this morning. So this is Mess About 1, and I'll see you a little later on. Have a good Sunday.